this program is about connecting with your higher power. You need a purpose. You need a reason to wake up, and you maybe just need someone to say good job to you at the end of every day. Admit that we've got all these problems and then understand that we can solve them.
I solemnly swear that I will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Hi everybody, Ron here from The Truth About Addiction. Today's guest, Catie. Catie is a young lady on a recovery journey, and I've seen Catie doing little things on social media, and I was just watching her grow over the last few months, and I reached out to her and said, come and tell us your story. And she was like, oh, I don't know. And I said, yeah, just come. And, here we are here today, because there's other young girls out there in exactly the same position that you were in, thinking, oh, I don't know. And then they hear your story and they go like, well, if she can do it, so can I.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And to an extent, that's kind of why I started the page as well. It was more that I felt like I had hit a point in my recovery that I wasn't really moving forward anymore. I mean, I wasn't drinking, but I wasn't kind of feeling like I was progressing. And I guess throughout lockdown, which is a bit of where my sobriety first started, it really started creating, I started secluding myself a lot, and I started isolating a lot, and it just became really easy in that kind of lockdown environment. And then, yeah, once I branched out a bit more, I'd got a bit of sobriety up. I thought, look, I need to start connecting with people, and I need to start making sure that I don't drift,
Yeah.
And yeah, throughout sharing just little pockets of where I'm at in my journey and how it's been going, and all of the craziness that's been in my mind, I've had quite a lot of mostly younger women reaching out, just saying, look, I know exactly how you feel, or I've been in that position, or look, I did this and can you help me to get where you are, and sort of thing. And it's been really amazing to really be able to connect with a lot of people and understand that there are so many people, going through this stage right now. And I think it's becoming it's one of those, things that's becoming quite popular now. Or it's definitely a lot more spoken about, and a lot more people are curious about it. Living a life without alcohol, or even just recognizing what role alcohol plays in their life.
Yeah.
How big of a part it is. And I think a lot of people are finding these days that alcohol is playing a huge part. Whether it's drinking in that activity, or it's the recovery and how long it takes for people to start to feel okay again after, a weekend out or something. So I'm really glad that it's becoming a lot more spoken, and there's the internet these days where we can all kind of connect and share stories, even though we're hours or countries apart from each other. And it's really nice.
No, social media is actually helping us spread the message.
Absolutely.
And, I noticed it's really funny. I went on your Instagram the other day, and I see a lot of people who I communicate with overseas are started following you. And
Oh,
that's
yeah.
really beautiful. Yeah, I like seeing that stuff because we have a common denominator that we're trying to break a cycle that we've lived in for X amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
And I say it all the time, connection is the opposite to addiction. And your secrets die in the light of day. And subconsciously, I don't even know if you're aware of it, by you doing your posts that you've been doing for the last X amount or whatever, you've been sharing your experience, strength, and hope.
Yeah.
And the madness dies. It does. Secrets die in the light of day.
Well, that's the thing. I do find myself, especially now that I've started getting a few more followers, I get nervous posting. I get nervous because I can see from when I first started, there almost seems to be a lot more vulnerability when I first started to now when I go to post. I'm like, oh, I don't want to offend anyone. I don't want to, ruffle someone's feathers. I don't want to trigger someone. And then I just have to remember that as long as I'm sharing what is authentic to me, what has happened to me, or what has potentially helped me, that's all I can do. I can't sugarcoat everything. I can't make everyone happy. All I can do is just share what has happened to me, what has helped me, and hope that that might be able to, help somebody else, or even plant that seed. I'm not out here thinking I need to change everyone's life, but if I can plant the seed of, a hope in someone that might be struggling with things that I've struggled with, that they can then be as happy as me, then that's honestly, that's all I want. I've always just really wanted to help people. And right now, this is the only way I know that I can help people, by sharing what has helped me.
And the beautiful part is you are helping people by helping yourself.
Mm.
It's got to
Yeah.
always come back to that. It always comes back to, you go to meetings and people go, oh, the newcomer is the most important person in the room. They'll say that at many, many meetings. And I've said for many years, because I'm actually a little bit of a rebel, and I say, no, they're not. I am.
Mm.
I'm the most important person in this room. And the message I carry has to be about recovery. So I
Yeah,
need to take care of me first, then I can take care of you.
exactly. And I think that's something that I've somewhat struggled with my life, as well as coming from a background of being a big people pleaser, and basically just not ever understanding what I wanted. I never understood my own emotions, my own feelings. I definitely didn't have control over them.
Yeah.
But what I could control was how I made other people feel. And did I do that job well enough? No, I can do it better. And did I do it better than that person? And there was so much ego and thinking that my contribution was so important. And it really wasn't, because I wasn't serving myself in any
Yeah.
way. I was constantly just looking, and I'm very good at detecting what people need. I can tell by the sound of, your footsteps, or the tone of your hello. Like, I'll know exactly what you need. I've worked in hospitality a long time. I've dealt with a lot of people from all different sorts of backgrounds, and it's easier for me to figure out what someone else wants than what I want.
Yeah.
So recently, I'm almost up to a year in sobriety, and it's only just kind of becoming clear to me what I want. And it's the real practice, to be able to, fit your own mask before somebody else's. And it's easy to think that, yeah, it might be the newcomers that's most important, or it might be the person who's been there for 50 years or something, but it's whatever you bring, that's what's important, whatever's
Exactly.
authentic to yourself.
Yeah. And because you're a survivor, and also you're saying, you're very intuitive. So that's, a part of who you are. That's part of your nature, your character. So you have to use that in the past, you use that as a protecting thing to protect
Mm,
yourself. It's like, okay, bad feelings, I'm out of there. And
mm.
sometimes you ignore it because you're intoxicated. It's like, it'll be right. Because once we
Yeah.
put a chemical in our body, we no longer care.
Mm,
What I mean? We
exactly.
don't. It just clouds it. See, the thing I hate about drugs and alcohol is they rob you of your potential to be the best person you can be.
Mm.
And that's all you have to be, the best version of you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think people are constantly trying to find it. And I'm like, you are it. You're
Yeah.
already it. You're
Mm.
already exactly what you need. You might
Mm.
need to find it a little bit. You might need to sit in some uncomfortable times and have some really boring afternoons just sitting there and waiting. But you have everything that you need inside of you already.
Yeah,
And
100%.
it's almost coming into that time now where I was saying before, it was a good thing that, people are taking a lot of more of a look at their habits and whatnot, but it's kind of slipping into that stage now where now there's a million facilitators, there's a million people who are ready to tell you and take your money and tell you exactly what's wrong with you and how to fix it.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a certain extent where that's necessary for a lot of people. They do need real regiment, real direction, but you also have to, it comes down to stripping everything back anyway and starting fresh. So
And you've got to
it's,
watch it.
Yeah.
See, because most people that pay, and I know because I have a company where people pay,
Mm.
which we don't do a great deal of work because I'm a funny bug. I have a conflict of doing something that I love doing that I've been doing for 42 years,
Mm.
and I've only been getting paid for it, in certain areas. And I do it, and it's always usually the same people. The parents pay for the child because they're at the point where they've lost control of their kid. The kid is completely out of control and he won't listen to anybody else. And they listen to me for all the wrong motives. They listen to me because I'm cool, I'm an ex-gangster, drug smuggler. This guy's, wearing the gold watch and drives the flash cars, and they go on into, they go on the, social media and check me out. They're like, oh yeah, I'll listen to this guy because he's cool. And then they get to me and it's like, work the steps or die, motherfucker. You're
Yeah,
like, no, I don't
exactly.
want to hear that shit.
Like, tell us about guns and robbing
Yeah,
people.
yeah, yeah.
It's
And
like,
I'm like, because the first thing they get when anyone joins my program, it's really funny. They get the just for the day sent to them, the
hmm.
daily reading, they get the steps working guide and the basic text.
Yeah.
That's part of the program. That's the first things they get. And then they get the 8 demands, because I have my own program that I work of 8 demands.
Mm.
And it's not what they expected. And you always see their faces like, I say, you got to get an exercise book and a pen. By
Yeah.
tomorrow, you have to answer 10 questions. What? So that's the
Yeah.
program.
You've got to work for it.
I say, and I want you to do 90 meetings in 90 days. They go, what? But I say, mate, you're almost
Yeah,
paying me to do a job, and this is the job I do. You go to
exactly.
meetings. You go to meetings. You find a group of people, and you stop wasting your father's money on people like me.
Mm.
And they hate it.
Absolutely.
They hate it. They hate it because they think I'm going to talk about jail crap and gangster bullshit and tell them where you can go and score dope or something, or like travel the world and tell you stories. And I can do that, but that's not going to help you in your recovery.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
Well,
I believe you're doing such a wonderful job because you are isolated where you are
mm.
because of your geographical part. Byron Bay's got some great meetings. I don't know, you're just doing AA or you're doing both?
I'm just doing AA, but it really does. I've got a sick grandfather who's 91, onset dementia and whatnot. He lives down in South Australia in a very rural country town where I'm from. And I went down to look after him, I think it was in September or so. And they had one meeting a week in this town, unless I had to drive 100 Ks to the next town. And then they were all 8 p.m. meetings as well. And I went to the meeting and there was me and three other old farmer blokes. And
Mm.
they, we had it. It was a great meeting and whatnot, very casual approach. But I was like, you guys have one meeting? And they're like, yeah, that's all we can put on and whatnot. So I did a few online meetings and whatnot. And then when I came back, I was just like, wow, like I'm so blessed around here. In one day, there will be 10 meetings on,
Yeah, yeah,
they're just everywhere. It's this where I live is has traditionally been a healing ground. And
yeah,
a lot of people have come to this area to heal, to
yeah,
remove themselves from the toxic life that they've been living, or there's a lot of rehabilitation centers around here. And yeah, I'm very blessed to be here. And honestly, it's not even just the programs. To me, I'm very connected with the land and the land here as well, which is I find very, very therapeutic just to be around nature and whatnot.
yeah, it's
And
beautiful. It is beautiful. I had 66 acres of bungalow years ago.
really,
Yeah, yeah,
oh,
years
I
ago I
love
had 66
Bangalore.
acres. We sold it. But yeah, we sort of hung around there, and I go down there every year for the convention. They have a NA convention every year, and I go down there in March, and that's my recovery date celebration, the 3rd of March.
Ah, oh,
And
cool.
yeah, so I'm coming up to 38 years clean in a few weeks. And
Wow,
that's if I
yeah.
make it. Nah. And
It is the tricky time, isn't it? Just before
yeah,
anniversaries.
yeah. To be quite honest, I don't have tricky times anymore.
No,
I
yeah.
really don't, because I understand it's not about drinking and drugging anymore. It's about my thinking.
Mm.
And if I take a drink or a drug, my thinking's bad.
Yeah.
My
Yeah,
thinking can be
exactly.
bad on a bad day as it is, but put a chemical in, all bets are off. I can no longer guarantee my behavior.
Well, and that's the thing. It's not even like just the behavior for me, it's also my connection with my higher power.
Um,
Um, if I was to take any sort of substance, I know that that will interfere. And I'm talking even just painkillers.
yep.
So I've had like a really, really tough time with my wisdom teeth coming up and down. And I'm not a big fan of taking any sort of Panadol because I might need to take two Panadol. And before you know it, I'm taking five Panadol at a time and whatnot. It's a slippery slope. Um, so I take a lot of herbal sort of stuff. I take like clove oil
Yep.
and pulpus and everything. And I was talking to a lady at AA about it, and she'd just had a arm dislocation thing, and she said, "Well, you're glad, you're lucky that you didn't, because I've been having to take pain medication." And she's like, "It 100% interferes with my high power connection." And to me, I'm terrified of that. If I don't have my connection with my higher power, I have nothing. I've got nothing. I know that I am not sober because of just myself and just for not reaching for the drink. It is quite literally a very spiritual life that we're living here. And to me, I've definitely been graced by God for having removed that desire and removed not just drinking. I'm an addict by nature.
Yeah.
I will find a way to get, addicted to anything,
Yeah.
good things and bad things. I've got to constantly keep in check. And I just hand it over to my higher power. If I think something's getting a bit too much or I'm a little bit too into it, like my yoga and Pilates, I got a little bit way, way too intense about it. I ask my higher power, what should I do? Do I need to stop? Can you control it for me or can you remove it for me? It's always, I'm very aware that while I'd love to be in control, I'm just not.
No.
Yeah.
A good lesson is in early recovery is, we get clean and we stop and then we start new things and we go to the other end of the extreme. And people
Mm-hmm.
say to me, like, but I get to the other extreme. I say, yeah, but how do you find the middle of a piece of string? You got to find both ends, then
Yeah.
work your way back and find your middle.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
exactly. And I always do. I go all the way there and then it's like, all right, let's just taper down a bit.
taper back and we'll find the middle. Something that, because it's really cute because I used to do a lot of yoga, a lot of stanga, which is
Mm.
the hardest yoga you can do. And I used to
Damn.
smash it, and it's 20 years ago. I loved it, but obsessively and compulsively, like everything
Mm-hmm.
else I do, whether it's exercise, relationships, food, sports, anything at all. I want to do it obsessively and compulsively. And I always want to be better than myself, and
Yeah.
it's really funny. When I got clean, I opened a company called Next, Next. It was a jewelry company. And I used to have the number plate on my car, Next. And I realized after a few years, after a lot of years, that my recovery wasn't about next, it was about now. And I had to stop the next because I used to always think about next. And if you think about it, if we're worrying about what's next, we're not worrying about what we have right now.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not very present, is it?
Yeah, you got to be happy for now. And
And
I
I think
said,
that, yeah.
no, 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 you don't.
I was going to say like that's what recovery has taught me so much. It is just the now.
Yeah.
Don't get too caught up in all of this and that. It's like just think about right now.
That's why they call it the present because it's a gift.
That's
That's
it.
it, mate.
Very
That's
much
it,
so.
Yesterday's history, tomorrow's mystery, all you have is today. And I
Yeah.
say to a lot of people, especially in early recovery, if you've got one foot in yesterday and one foot in tomorrow, you're going to shit all over today. It's very true.
Before
Yeah,
you
I
got a
know.
foot in yesterday and a foot in tomorrow.
You're going to crap all over today.
Oh gosh,
Make
that's a visual and
sense?
a half. It totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a very one-liner person. I've got one-liners for When you've been around as long
I
as
love
me, you got a
it.
million of them.
Well, there's a member in AA who I met him at a when I first started socializing, I'd only go to AA events. And I met him at a barbecue, and he just comes out with the best one-liners. When I see him at a meeting, I'm like, yes. And he did one that was great, and it was, I'll tell you two things about God. One, he's real, and two, you ain't it. And
Yeah,
I was like,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good one.
yeah.
Because I mean,
Yeah.
before coming into the program, I I had a connection with my higher power from getting sober before. Um, but I didn't really, you know, that was a fluke. I had no idea that was going to work. I was at the bottom of the barrel, one of my darkest days I've ever had, and I just begged and begged and begged because I had nothing else. I tried everything as far as I was concerned. And I woke up the next day with half a bottle of wine and no desire to drink it. And I stayed with that bottle, half bottle of wine. I don't know why I did this, but I kept it in my fridge for 6 months, almost 6 months. Um, and because I knew somehow this God that I never ever thought existed had removed it from me. But my only mistake with that time was that I did it on my own. And it was in lockdown. I didn't have AA. I didn't seek out a program. I kind of thought that I got this, and that was my biggest mistake. That was a lot of my ego there, thinking that, I prayed to God and he removed it. And then as far as I was concerned, that was job done, and now it was all me. And bad stuff happened. It was Christmas time. There was a few upset people, and me being one of them. And I didn't have anything to fall back on. I just started drinking again. I knew that I had God. There was one. I thought it kind of had stopped working, and then that's relapse took me a while. And then I found the rooms of AA. I found a meeting that really, really spoke to me, and I knew it was different from that day on. And that was tomorrow. I mean, not tomorrow, next week, or maybe the week after. It'd be 1 year since I walked into that
What
meeting where I
date?
knew 2nd of February.
Cool.
So it's 1 month
Second
before
and
you.
second.
Yeah,
Second and
well,
second.
it turns out to be 2223, and I am huge with my numerology. And yeah, it's a very significant number for me.
Okay.
And just before I started here, I saw 222, and I was like,
Yeah.
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 I prayed to God for,
Mm.
me to be good and not scared.
No, don't be scared. Fear.
Mm.
I'll tell you something about fear. Fear and faith can't live in the same room. So if you've got faith, you can't have fear. I like prayer. I really like prayer because prayer keeps me humble.
Mm-hmm.
And my prayers are really simple. Say, please help me stay clean and sober for the next 24 hours, and thank you for helping me stay clean and sober for the last 24 hours.
Yep, exactly.
I never pray for a lighter load. I pray for a stronger back.
Mm-hmm.
This is stuff I was taught in early recovery. Don't pray for a lighter load, pray for a stronger back. And my
No,
higher power has given me nothing that I've been able to cope with one day at a time.
exactly. And it's the faith that your higher power will never give you more than what they know you can handle. And it's just almost that thinking of you're always exactly where you're meant to be,
Yeah.
and quite like what you're saying, I never pray to make me have the best day ever or something. I say, make the blessings so obvious that I cannot ignore them, because I know that they're there. I know that you're making this day perfect for what I need it to be. Just make me aware enough to see it.
Yeah, 100%.
Mm.
And that's why I call it humility.
Yeah.
So, because when I'm humble, I actually can recognize when I'm an ego, because ego stands for edging God out.
Edging God out.
That's
Yes.
ego. As soon as I bring my
Yeah.
ego into it, I've edged God out because now I'm in control.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, and when I'm in control, we're in trouble. Trust me, we're all in trouble. When I'm in control, we've got some serious issues here, because I'm destructive.
Yeah.
I'm very manipulative. I'm very, like my disease. When I'm running on my disease, I can do lots of bad things, because that's the nature of my disease. I'm selfish. See, I believe the spiritual part of this disease is a total self-centeredness.
Yes.
When I'm God-centered,
Absolutely.
I'm cool. When I'm self-centered, I'm a small parcel.
Yeah, and I find it so funny when I'm at meetings and I'm sitting across people, much like yourself, 37 years sober, and you just you think, "God, I can't imagine you doing anything like
Yeah,
that." And
yeah,
you just I see some of the most wonderful people and I'm meeting these great people and I hear about some stories and I don't judge because I've got my own. I'm just shocked. And I'm like,
yeah.
Mary, what do you mean? I was like, I can't imagine that. It's crazy what we're capable of, and then the flip side, what we're capable of. When we
See, that's my book, Born into the Lie of
born into
Crime,
the crime.
right?
Ah,
And there's a photo of me as a 14-year-old boy holding a machine gun. And
no.
there's photos of me being locked in prison at 17, charged with 5 attempted murders, shooting gangsters and policemen and that.
Is this
So,
your story?
yeah. That's
I'm
my
gonna
life
I'm gonna have
story.
to get me a copy of that.
That's my life
Wow.
story. Yeah, you just go on the truth about addiction, you can get it on there.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
when I read that, and I wrote it, and when I read it and I write it, it's like it's somebody else's story. It doesn't feel like me anymore. I don't respond to that person. It's not me. It's
Mm,
just, and it's who I was. And when people judge me, I say to them, it's like breaking into a house I used to live in. There's nothing in there anymore.
yeah.
When you judge when you bring up my past, I say, well, you know what, guys, you're stealing from an empty house. I
Yeah,
don't live there.
exactly.
I don't live there anymore. And today I'm blessed. I have this opportunity. Before I spoke to you, I spoke to a guy in America, and he's got a company called The People Pleaser. He's on Instagram, and he's a recovering addict and alcoholic, and yeah, his name's Nick. He calls himself The People Pleaser. He's got something like 700,000 followers.
All right.
Like he's got nearly 1 million followers worldwide in TikTok and Instagram and that. And we talked about what we're talking about with you. You know what? And he's now a sobriety coach and recovery coaching for people pleasing. And there's no difference between him and you. There's no difference between you and me.
Mm,
We're just people. We're human beings first, male or female second, and addict alcoholic third.
yeah.
And we have to stop concentrating on the alcoholic addict, start trading the human side of us. And that's what you're doing with your yoga, stuff like that, your feminine side, you get in with the earth, which is real. And I've got a feminine side too. I love the earth. I love the connection.
Mm,
When you said the connection with earth, that painting behind me is painted by an old Aboriginal elder up in a place called Pompawoi, up in top of North Ends of Queensland, in an Aboriginal
yeah.
community. And the old guy standing under the tree, he's the teacher. That's why it was painted. That's my story. I'm a teacher. That's what I do.
Yeah.
I teach people about recovery.
I know. And it's
That's,
it's crazy to think all of those things that happened to you in your past were so necessary. They
yeah,
were so perfectly all put there to bring you to where you are now so you can help so many people.
exactly. And that's why I love what I do. And, I've got other opportunities, business opportunities, which I knock back because they're financially motivated.
Mm-hmm.
I just want enough to live, enough to pay
Yeah.
for my bills, enough to feed my family, and so I can keep doing what I want to do. And what I
Mm.
want to do is what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
It's crazy, it's crazy to think that a guy who's, don't get me wrong, the old me was very materialistic. I still am a little bit material. I'm not really materialistic. I have good, nice things. I don't apologize because I work hard.
Mm.
I didn't get clean to sleep in a park. I got clean to live in a good life.
Of course.
And
Yeah.
I've earned it. I've earned it legally and I've earned it respectfully. But as long as I've got enough money to live my lifestyle with my family, I just want to carry the message of recovery. I just want to help people
Mm.
plant seeds. Their job is to plant seeds.
Yeah.
And I think you personally have got such a unique story when I say unique, is you're young, you're attractive, you're smart, you're capable, and you've shows recovery. So all the young, capable, beautiful people out there, get off your ass and start choosing recovery. Drinking's boring.
That's it. That's the thing. I used to think that it was so hard to, how boring of a life it would be without drinking or partying or this, that, because that's all I knew. All I knew was how to escape. And I was like, look, I knew if I could get a hold of my drinking, I would be able to achieve better things, because there was something in me that always said, you know, I was meant to do more. I was meant to be more. Growing up, everyone always called me like, big time Catie, like Katie's a big star. And, uh, I just had this crazy personality and this crazy outgoingness that, um, yeah, just, I don't know, kind of took a toll on me, I guess, growing up a bit. And everyone started being like, oh, you should chill out a bit. You should dull yourself down a little bit. And you get so used to dulling yourself down that you need to start taking stuff to dull yourself down and make yourself feel better. And it's just, I would love to grab those kids like myself before I was, I was doing cocaine at 15. I was drinking at 13. I was doing horrible things. And I just wish that, the people I was looking up to were doing exactly that sort of behavior. So I just wish that there were more people to look up to that weren't doing that behavior, but still living really cool, great, amazing lives,
Yeah.
And it's funny how influenced we are by, like celebrities and influencers and whatnot. But we really are, we're always looking for someone else to kind of, I guess, judge ourselves against, sort of
Yeah.
thing, or aspire to be or whatnot. And yeah, I do see the world coming around in a lot more good role models out there. And I think it starts with a clean way of living, and to realize that that's not boring. It's kind of, I love that it's getting this rebel kind of name to it as well. Being sober, it's kind of like, oh, it's a rebellious act now.
It's a movement. I believe, honestly, it's a movement. We're getting there. We're
Yeah.
getting there. And, as I said, I tease a lot of people and say, John Lennon's been telling us for years, all we need is love. Love
Yeah.
ourselves, love one another, love each other. See, I
Isn't
don't
it?
see colour. I don't see creed. I don't see religion. I don't see any of that stuff. I see a human being, a female, who had a problem with chemicals.
Mm,
But you're a human being first. You're a female
exactly.
second, and you have a problem with it, drinking drugs third. So, okay, we take the drink and drug away. Then we have a mental health issue because our thinking's a
Mm,
bit off skew. And we can fix that. It's not a big
mm.
deal anymore. As long as you don't put the chemical in their body, we'll be okay, no matter what.
Well, then that's another thing. Like I have throughout the years been prescribed so many different types of, anxiety medication, antidepressants, this and that. I always knew that that was never going to be a solution. I never thought that taking a pill was ever going to solve my problems. And I was still drinking very heavily at this stage. This is the first time I started talking to my doctor about how much I was drinking and why I was the way that I was and not happy. And yeah, first thing he did, prescribe me with, you know, um, antidepressants and
Yeah.
then all these other things. That's never going to solve anyone's problem. You've got to, first of all, admit that we've got all these problems and then understand that we can solve them.
Yeah.
Like, there was a lady who shared the other day saying that, she was 9 months. She was almost, starting to feel a bit better, but was still really quite depressed, and she wasn't working. She didn't really have any purpose. All of her kids have gone. She didn't have a partner, all these things. And she said, tomorrow I'm going back to the doctors and I think I'm going to go back on the antidepressants because I wanted to see how much the alcohol fixed. It hasn't fixed enough. And I said, look, honestly, this program is about connecting with your higher power. I don't think that taking something like this is going to connect with your higher power. You need a purpose. you need a reason to wake up, and you maybe just need someone to say good job to you at the end of every day. So it sounds like you need to go get a job. I was like, because even when you start taking these pills, you're going to have to find a job anyway. So I was like, try everything that you can before relying on these band-aid things, because I just don't think that they work. I don't think they're not as powerful as what your mind is.
I have a bad back, really bad, I had spinal fusion and all that bullshit. And the doctors tell me that I'm untreatable because I won't take their painkillers. I refuse. I'm not refused to, I just don't. And they gave me, but why? It'll stop your pain. I said, yeah, but it'll also stop my joy. They go, what do you mean? I say, when my little boy jumps in the pool and says, Dad, 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 and I look across, I get this incredible gush of warmth and love and pride. I said, when I'm on your painkillers, I don't get that.
Yeah.
I said, so the swap off is no pain, no gain, no joy. I said, I'd rather just be in a little bit of pain to get a lot of joy.
Exactly. At least then you can feel both.
Yeah.
As opposed to even, when you're taking painkillers and then when it starts to wear off, you see that person start to get a little irritable and they're frustrated and this and that because that pain's coming back. But if you get comfortable just sitting in that little bit of pain, then you know you're in pain, you can feel this, you can feel that, you still have your whole scope of emotion and whatnot.
100%. I like the emotions.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about you, but I didn't have any for a very, very long time.
No, I never
and
have.
it's still very shaky now. I've only just started getting memories back from my childhood that I just completely thought that I had no childhood. I couldn't remember anything. My mom said, do you even have any good memories of your childhood? And I tried to think. I was like, I couldn't think of more than 3 memories. I just couldn't. And only just recently, I'm almost a year sober, only just recently I've started to get a few back that I'm like, oh, that's right. And, I'll call mom and I'd be like, hey, do you remember this? And it's crazy how much damage we've actually done and how long it takes to even start to, we think that we're back to normal, but no, it's a really long time. I was abusing my body for 17 years or so. It takes a long time to start to, piece everything back together.
And that's something I say to people that are listening to this podcast. Be patient, be gentle, and just have faith. Look, I say it all the time, and you hear people say it, especially in the rooms, it gets better. And I remember hearing people say, oh, it gets better when I was a year clean. I'm thinking, and a year clean, I was just starting to get connection, having fun with people. We were going to nightclubs together, sober, and we weren't drinking, we were training, we were physically getting strong and healthy, and we were doing everything we wanted to do. And I thought, I don't know if it gets much better than this. At 5 years, I thought it doesn't get better than this. At 10 years, I thought it doesn't get better than this. At 20 years, I thought it doesn't get better than this. At 30 years, I thought it doesn't get better than this. Well, I'm 38 in a couple of months, and I can tell you right now, it gets better. And it's still getting better, and it fucking freaks me out. It freaks me out.
How good can it get?
Yeah, it freaks me out. The better it got from me, I'll tell you what happened was, in the last 10 years, the last 20 years, since I stopped doing crime, my life got spiritually better. I was always physically better. Mentally, I was always a bit crazy. Always a bit crazy. That's part of who I am. That's part of my makeup. I don't really want to change that.
No.
I like that part of me. I like that. I'm an old guy, and I still do a somersault to the swimming pool with my kids, and I'm wrestling with my family, and my wife just says to me, "How old are you?" I say, "How old do you want me to be?" That's my answer whenever she asks me. My wife's quite young compared to me, and I say to her, she goes, "How old are you?" And I say, "How old do you want me to be?" And she goes, "You got issues." And
be like, yes, but we all know that, don't we?
Yeah, exactly. I say to yeah. And I say, "I've got issues. You married me, You're the one that chose to be with me, so I have to be
you
with
signed
me.
up for this.
Yeah, exactly. And, honestly, the joys of recovery, the gift that just keeps on giving is fucking the freedom, the self-learning about who you really are, and you stop being a people pleaser. Now, I
Mm,
say no now. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't want to say no, but the principle is before the personality at all times.
yeah.
And that's the most important thing, integrity, being true to yourself. And with integrity comes self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
And part of, I believe, drug use and alcoholism is self-abuse, the opposite to self-love.
Mm,
And opposite of self-love and self-worth is derived from having a set of principles that you can trust yourself with. And sometimes it's saying no. And sometimes I found saying no is the greatest thing you can do for somebody else.
yeah.
I was talking to the guy this morning, different times, I'd be at a meeting and someone say, "Oh, can you give me a lift up to the coffee shop?" And I didn't even like that person. And I'd be driving to the coffee shop thinking, why don't I give this arsehole a lift? Because I was people pleasing.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, no, man, you're not welcome. Now I've said to people, and I'm not saying this, some people that have done the wrong thing, or what I call the wrong thing, being predators in the rooms and things like that. I've said to them, like, don't talk to me. I don't like you. And I
Yeah, that
say, honestly, I don't like you. I don't like you as a person. I don't like your characters. I don't like your defects. I don't like your selfishness. Please don't come up and say, I said, you're welcome. I'll never say anyone's not welcome, but don't come up and pretend you're my friend and put your hand out to me because
yeah.
I'll embarrass you because I won't shake it. That's
Yeah.
integrity. That's integrity. Because
Well, I
to
think
me,
that also comes from someone who has done the work. And it's
mm,
like, look, I know what it takes to be this type of person, and I'm only going to allow those type of people around me because I need to keep moving in this direction. And even associating with people like that, it's bringing me down. So if you want to be associating with me, it's up here. And you got to do A, B, C, and D to get up here, and I'll see you there, sort of thing.
exactly,
But
100%.
until you're ready to do all of that, unfortunately, I don't have time to come and babysit you. Sign up for this program if you want to do it or whatever, but I'm not here to teach you unless I know you are ready.
Yeah. And what you said before about people saying to dim your light, no, go and buy some sunglasses. If
Exactly.
my light's
Yeah.
too bright, turn your head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or turn away, because
Yeah.
if you're saying that I'm too bright, you're obviously not at the right party. Like,
100%.
just keep moving.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I found that a lot with like dating as well. It's just find I found that throughout most of my relationships, massive people pleaser, or just the complete opposite. I was just take, and take without, ever thinking that I was doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And in sobriety, I really haven't. I haven't. In fact, I've quite literally cut out 90% of people in my life, friends, people who just I couldn't be around. What didn't mean that they were bad people. It meant that whatever I had with them, it was too triggering for the new me, and I can't be around it. But with dating, there was one person who I have dated who constantly, and I know that this was just a gift sent from God, constantly challenging my boundaries that I put up. And I would say one thing and then I would turn on my own words and I would go back to them and stuff. And only until I started really saying, no, this is the boundary and sticking to it, every time I stick to that boundary, I get little blessings come in from God. I
Yeah.
get little times that are like, yes, good work. And I look at it almost like little levels. And I know that when I stick to a boundary or something I said I was going to do, God pops me up another little level. And if I don't necessarily go down, but I've found that staying the same is just as bad as going
Yeah.
any, like, unless I'm moving up, I don't necessarily want to stay that stagnant either. And every time I ask for something, God won't give me that. God will give me the opportunities to see if I'm really ready for that. And I found that, yeah, throughout dating, it's just there aren't just because you're healed doesn't mean everyone out there is healed. And I'm not even healed. It's just,
Yeah.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
But yeah,
100%.
when we stick to the boundaries and the new things that we've learned, that's when you really start to like, appreciate your own work and have a
And
kind of new love for yourself. Appreciation.
You've got to have boundaries, and you've got to have not negotiables. That's when I say principles before personalities. You've got to have those. That's how
Yeah.
you get your integrity, and integrity comes strength, and with strength comes courage. And so, courage is doing what you don't want to do. Courage is not doing what you want to do. Courage is doing what you don't want to do. That's what courage is.
Yeah.
Courage is facing up when you don't want to face up. Getting up when you don't want to get up. Doing that one more extra set when you don't want to do it anymore. That's integrity and courage and self-worth and self-love. And they talk about the disease of addiction being a progressive disease. So progressive means moving on. So if you're standing stagnant, guess what? Your disease just passed you.
Yeah.
That's why we call it the steps. We've got to keep doing one step at a time. Stay in front of this disease. Stay in front of this disease, because it is progressive. It does get worse. And I believe it is incurable, but I don't believe it's got anything to do with the drink and the drugs. I believe to do with our thinking. I really believe we have a thinking problem.
Yeah, definitely. Because even being sober, I mean, I'm not drinking. It doesn't mean that I didn't necessarily become a better person when I stopped drinking. The reason why I love AA and the program is because the program to me is not about not drinking. It's about becoming a better person in a sense of changing my behaviors, changing my habits, changing my thinking process, really getting my ego in check, humbling myself. Like that 12-step program, I feel like should be everyone who walks life should take a program like that throughout their life. Keeping yourself in check, keeping a daily inventory of what did I do today? Who did I piss off? How could I have helped that person better? Blah, blah, blah. Keeping ourselves in check with our own behavior. Because I think we're so obsessed with looking at other people and saying, you did that wrong, you did that wrong. We're shaming people online. We're making people feel guilty to make ourselves feel better. And it's like, stop throwing all of these rocks when we're in this little glass house. Like, none of us are perfect. And that's why I love so much people in recovery, because it's people who have said, yep, I haven't been doing the best, but I'm going to start trying better. I'm trying to be better. I don't care if you relapse or anything, you are trying, and that I think is just so powerful for people, and people who don't have, addictive tendencies. They might not quite understand how hard it is to stop doing something that feels like the only natural thing to do.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I love addicts.
Yeah, I do too. And I think if most people got honest, most people have got an addiction of some sort, whether it be, shopping, whether it be relationships, whether it be, this is going to be the next one. Don't worry about that. The phones are going to be the next. There'll be sobriety coaches to get you off your phone.
I know. It's like, tap in on your home phone or something like that. And
we're doing a seminar in a few months, myself and another guy who's a motivational speaker, and he goes all around the world, big corporate companies. And him and I are doing one, and we're aiming to have 120 people there, and it's over a 2-day period. And I said to him, what I want to do, it sounds crazy, as soon as they walk in the door, we're going to give them a bag, and they've got to turn their phone off and lock it in this bag, and the bag's going to have a clip on, like when you go shopping, how it's got to be taken off with a magnet. So they can't open their bag. So they can't have their phone for the whole thing. So then they're going to feel addiction. And the first 10 minutes of the class is going to be a breath work. So as soon as they come in, they've got to surrender their phones, sit down. Now we're going to have 10 minutes of breath work. Then we do the seminar. Now we've got their attention. And my mate said, do you reckon they'll cop it? I said, they have to cop it. They're here.
Exactly.
This is
what they signed up for.
Yeah. So we're going to try that. I think it's going to be really fun.
I think
watch their addiction come out when you take their phones away.
Exactly. You've got a room full of addicts. Let's show you what you've
Yeah.
it'll probably be quite humbling for a lot of them, because you might have people who are 40 years sober who then think, oh, I'm not addicted to anything. My addiction was this, and I've been in a recovery program for 40 years and I'm fine. It's like, no, we're all still addicts.
Yeah. You know that game Candy Crush?
I'm addicted to
Look at it. You see this straight away. My wife, when I first started going out with my wife, she used to play this Candy Crush,
it.
and she put it on my phone. I started playing it, and all of a sudden, I find myself spending hours on this stupid game.
It's
And I'm
so
like,
silly.
I hate this game. And she's like, what? I said, I'm taking it off. And she goes, you won't. I just wiped it off. That's probably 6 years ago. I've never turned it back on. I won't. I see her playing. I won't play it.
No.
It's my personality. A couple of years ago, before I started doing social media, doing the recovery online and things like that, I said, I'm going to close down Facebook. And all my friends, I said, as of the 3rd of September, I will no longer be on Facebook. And all my friends said, you won't be able to do it. I just pressed end. I shut it down. I didn't open it again for 3 years. I have that discipline these days where I just say, if I feel it's not being productive and healthy towards my mental health, and I'm not being of service to people. So my big thing is I need to be of service. I need to feel like I'm giving back, because I've been given so much. I have an abundance. Honestly, I have the best life in the world.
Yeah.
I live the life of a rock star without the shit music. It's true. I have the best life, and I've always had the best life. Since I found recovery, my life has been unbelievable. And I went back and did 8 years prison in recovery, but it was still the best years of my life. I still wouldn't swap for using,
Yeah,
I'm like
exactly.
you. I don't have that many fond memories of being a child. I have a lot of fond memories of being a child in recovery. The first 5 years were wonderful. It was exciting, because when we first get clean, it's like being a child again. We're
That's
learning.
it. Yeah.
We're learning. We're insecure. We're unsure. We're like, oh, I don't know if we can do this. That's why I started. If you remember when the first time you sent me a message, goes like, I'm really nervous. And I said, I'm scared. And I said, good.
Yeah, I
That's your
know.
fears and recover.
I know. I
That's
was
your
like,
fears
what do
and
you mean
recover.
good? You're meant to be like, oh, great. Da, da, da.
I'm not the fluffy unicorn guy. I'm the guy that tells you
I'm
the
usually
truth.
not either.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm the guy that said, suck them up, babes. Get
You got
going.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
keep
Suck it
moving.
up. Like, come on. Are we about recovery, or are we about, and recovery sometimes is hard. That's the
Yeah,
truth.
but I think also, like, in terms of like your Candy Crush thing, it's like when you have been able to kick something, whether it's a drug or, any sort of addiction, you kind of take on the next addiction like, I can do that. I know that I can do that. I was drinking, right? And I had drinking removed. And then I've got other things, like vaping and whatnot. And I was like, I can get rid of that. I don't need to do that. I know that I can have that removed from my life. If you still have that faith, it's almost like, you can do anything. You
Yep.
can literally do anything. You just have to want it.
Yep.
Because I do not want to drink, and I get that, but I could still be, doing bad things in my life, and I might not want to give them up. And it's not until I decide that I want to give that up, God's going to keep it there. He's going to not remove it until I say remove it from my life. And then it will go away. It'll go away. It's, for me, a lot is out of sight, out of mind. If I wanted to get rid of Candy Crush, I could just delete it off my phone. I enjoy it. It's that little time, and I don't spend more than probably an hour or so because I get frustrated that I'm not winning. But it is that time that I like to get to relax, and I have a very active mind, so it's nice to just focus on one thing at a time. But I know that if I ask God to remove anything from my life that I don't want to be there, it can happen. It can happen as long as I believe it will.
100%. When I want it to happen, it will happen. When I choose it and I make a decision, it will happen.
Yeah,
I stopped using heroin and drinking. I can stop anything. I stopped smoking
exactly.
cigarettes. I haven't had a cigarette since 1986 either. Like I just
Yeah.
stopped. Everything was like, that's it. I'm over it. The 3rd
Yeah.
of the 3rd, 86, I got off the drugs and the alcohol. Well, I hadn't had alcohol since 82. And then, I was about 6 months into my recovery and I was already mad. And I said, I'm
Mm.
not smoking anymore. And I just got up one morning and I had half a packet of cigarettes, like your half a bottle of wine. I had half a
Yeah.
packet of cigarettes and they sat there for months.
Hmm.
People said, what are you testing yourself? I said, no, they're just there. I
I know,
throw
and
them
it's
away.
like it's not even as a, oh, you're sitting
Mm.
there and I don't need you. It's just I can sit and I can have you right there and I don't need you
Mm.
because you have been removed from my life.
It's like an ex-lover, so you can just look at them and say, I don't need you anymore.
Yeah, or
Yeah,
almost like, yeah, and the ex is sitting there and they're just watching you get better and better and better without them
yeah, yeah,
because they won't change their behavior, and you're like,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. I still
yeah,
remember the packet of cigarettes sitting there on the top of the bench and me looking at it and thinking, you fucking asshole.
yeah,
You
you
asshole. You
ruin
had me for
everything.
years. You had me for years,
Yeah. Now
but
look at me thrive.
yeah. And 37 years later, like, wow. Now it's like
Yeah.
I can't stand cigarettes and the world is getting to a place. I'll touch on this quickly. Alcohol, because it's legal and it's acceptable, and like you nearly got to justify why you don't drink when you go out.
Hmm.
Boy, I don't drink. Why don't you drink? It's like because I don't like it. And what don't you like? Have you tried this? Have you tried? I think the government should be putting labels on alcohol the same as they do tobacco.
Absolutely. It's really frustrating how ingrained it is in our society. You're upset, you drink. You're happy, you drink. You finish work, you drink. Everything, there's a reason why
We
drinking
toast.
can be involved.
We toast.
Exactly.
We open champagne because someone won a race. Yeah. And that's only
Yeah.
because we've been trained to think that way. And who do you think
Mm,
paid for that training? The big
exactly.
corporates. The big corporates.
Well,
That's who paid
how
for it.
much easier are people to control when they're sick?
Exactly.
Or when they don't have any answers because, yeah, they're sick, they're all
And
addicted
alcohol
to
takes
things.
away your
Integrity. Yeah.
passion, your ability. You run on about 60% of your real self. So while you're running on 60%, you can be an ant, you can be a worker ant. Once you're running 100%, you want to be the boss. They don't want
Mm.
bosses, they want worker ants. So people have got to
Yeah,
start to look further
exactly.
into what's going on. This whole control and conquer, and it's one of the highest tax things that we own, apart from petrol. You know, it's got no medicinal purposes whatsoever. Alcohol, only to rub on the outside to kill bacteria, and we're drinking it, and we're poisoning
Mm.
ourselves, and we're robbing ourselves of joy, happiness, and achievement. So, anybody listening to this podcast, please listen to what Catie had to say. She's a young lady who's got the balls to stand up and say enough's enough. I want more, and she's going for it. And you've got to respect that. I really do. And Catie, I really, really appreciate you coming on. Please stay in contact.
Yes, absolutely. No, thanks so much for having me.
You
It's my
know,
first podcast and I think
and
we did all right.
it wasn't as bad as you thought, was it?
Not at all. No,
No.
you're a joy to chat with. I've
Yeah.
loved this.
No, it's all good, darling. And as I said, one day at a time, we get
Absolutely.
we live a life
Yeah.
way beyond our wildest dreams, and it's just starting for you, honestly.
I know that's the exciting part. It's like I know this is going to get better. I don't know how because to me it's already pretty damn good. But I just know that as long as I stay sober and keep my faith, it is going to get better and better. I can't wait.
I love you. Thanks,
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank
I will
you.
speak to you soon.
I solemnly swear that I will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.